Okay, so first thing first, do we have any apologies for absence for anyone? Andrew Thompson, yes, Andrew Thompson can't be here. Okay, brilliant. Any announcements? Okay, Rosie Hiscock as well. Announcements from the floor, anyone? Yep.
Hello everyone. There is a national demonstration against austerity happening on the 20th of June in London. It would be fantastic to get as many Warwickers there as possible. Obviously, austerity has massively hurt students as well as underprivileged, disadvantaged and oppressed groups in society, vulnerable groups in society. So we need to fight austerity and everybody there. Everyone at Warwick should try and be there if possible. There's also a national demonstration against Teach Higher. We will be discussing Teach Higher in the motion later on, but Warwick UCU, in collaboration with a bunch of students who are in solidarity with staff, have called this demonstration, which will meet at 12 in Library Road on the 19th of June. So 2 days full of action for you to protest against bad stuff happening.
That's great, yeah.
Also on the theme of protest against bad stuff, May the 27th, there is a demonstration to coincide with the opening of Parliament. NUS London have called a march from Mallet Street to Trafalgar Square, starting at 4 o'clock, and then at 5 o'clock there is a demonstration of, I think about 6,000 people are going to meet at Trafalgar Square and do something of some variety, as yet undecided.
Brilliant, okay. Kat, did you have an announcement? Yep. It's over to Kat here, mate.
So thank you to everybody who came to the meeting last Thursday on Teach Higher. There is going to be a follow-up meeting on the 4th of June, also in MR45, and that will be once the terms and conditions have been released of Teach Higher on the 1st of June. So it'll be worth scrutinising those for 4 days and then coming to the meeting and chatting to management about that.
That's great. Then we're going to go behind you, Kat.
On both of those days that were suggested before, Kat, you could also be doing interesting things like watching Netflix or getting work experience rather than protesting good things like living within your own means, i.e. austerity. Anyway, I'll hand this back. Thank you.
Thanks for that. I love a diversity of opinions at the ASM. That's great. And I've got an announcement, which is I'll be giving out details as to the best way to proceed with the democracy review, have a few more consultations with certain groups of people, well, with everyone, and then also like specific ones with certain groups of people. So watch out for that. It's a really important conversation we need to have about our students' union. And also we might bring ASMs into the picture as well, maybe. So yeah, that's great. Oh yeah, and I think today's the final day of questionnaire for the SAB role review as well, so if you want to get on that, that'd be really, really helpful. Give us feedback as to whether you think the current positions for sabbatical officers are the right ones. That'd be really helpful. Okay, if there aren't any other further announcements, we'll move on to questions to officers. Just a note, if you have submitted any anonymous questions, Jackie, our Democratic Services Coordinator, has had to go home early due to illness, and so we haven't actually been able to get those off the computer. So I don't know if anyone did. She didn't mention any, so I doubt we have, but just to let you know, we haven't picked them up. But questions to officers. And we haven't had any paper ones, have we? No. Questions to officers. No. It's not obligatory, you don't have to. It's fine. We're in our offices every day, so you can also come and talk to us then. Yeah, go on.
No, I thought it's probably a good opportunity if you can update the rest of the student body on the Boris Bike scheme, which we have been working on for quite a while. Thank you.
The Boris Bike scheme. I think it should be end of this month. They're about to launch it, but they might have pushed that back any further. I'm looking at Ruby potentially. No? Laura? End of June. It's end of June now. But it is definitely end of June, isn't it now? End of June. Yeah. So there are 50 bikes. Laura knows the details, so there are 50 bikes, aren't there? 50 bikes, and they're sponsored by PwC, aren't they? Yeah, that's lovely. So they will be known as PwC bikes, I have no doubt about that. And there's going to be a free trial period, so definitely take advantage of that because it'll be quite fun. And then the pricing structure after that is, I think you register online, and then the first, I think it's similar to Boris Bikes in that the first half hour, an hour is free or something. But yeah, it should be quite fun, and hopefully they'll expand it if they get used properly. It's quite nice. So, yeah. Any other questions to officers? No? Okay, brilliant. We'll move on to business. So first up, we've got students against academic casualisation in Teach Higher. Do we have a first person to speak in favour of that? Over there.
It is fair to say that conditions for many students and staff who teach at Warwick are exploitative. Often pay rates are low, several hours of work are bundled into a single hour of pay, and work hours are not guaranteed. Clearly, poor employment conditions are awful for those who teach and who depend on this income to live, but they are also bad for those who are taught. Teachers want to give meaningful feedback on essays and assignments, but when they are being paid per script and racing against the clock to achieve minimum wage, this simply is not achievable. Teachers want to give seminars and tutorials the preparation they deserve, but when they're not allocated sufficient time to do so, then there is only so much they can reasonably do. Without hourly paid teachers, most courses would not be able to run. Yet this reality often appears to be forgotten. Unless hourly paid teachers are provided with acceptable teaching conditions, the quality of education that teachers want to give and students deserve to receive cannot be guaranteed. The university has put forward Teach Higher, which it describes as an academic services department, with the intention that eventually all hourly paid teaching and research will be processed through it. This is slated to begin with 7 pilot departments in the autumn. It appears that Teach Higher is being presented as a silver bullet to address the current problems experienced by hourly paid teachers. However, we have yet to see hard evidence that Teach Higher will do more than set in stone poor conditions and normalise the mass casualisation that already exists. There are problems with how the university has gone about consulting Teach Higher. The university has not consulted with those who teach, nor with students who more widely regarding the proposals, instead choosing to push Teach Higher through university committees. This lack of direct engagement is unacceptable, but perhaps could be stomached if Teach Higher was offering radically improved conditions. However, Teach Higher falls far short of doing so. We have seen no information regarding pay rates, nor any guarantees that all hours worked will be paid for. Furthermore, by not providing the same terms and conditions as permanent staff, the university is continuing to significantly devalue those who teach on an hourly basis. We cannot accept a proposal that perpetuates the problems of the current system, coupled with the threat of franchise to the rest of the higher education sector. But we can also not accept the exploitative status quo. Therefore, we must reject Teach Higher as it stands and push for a universal contract system that at a minimum provides contracts of employment and fair pay across departments for all hours worked. This is not asking for a lot, this is asking for what's fair. And for too long, hourly paid teachers have been treated unfairly by this university, and this has to stop. So please vote in favour of students against casualisation in Teach Higher.
Thanks for that. Have we got anyone speaking against the motion? No, okay. Maybe. Can we tempt you?
I have several points. The first one is the academic market is quite saturated with people who have done useless degrees. I myself do a useless degree, I have to admit, but I mean, so people who have got PhDs have gone into this market, which is saturated, and it is difficult to get a job in that market. And Teach Higher provides, I think, a useful experience in this rather competitive, market to work in. Secondly, you talk about fair pay. What is fair pay? Fair pay is subjective. And how does fair pay reconcile with what some people might call for an abolition of tuition fees? How can we afford to, deliver fair pay without tuition fees? We'll just be paying more. That's my point. It's incoherent. I just came up with it now, but that's the beauty of student democracy.
Thanks for that. And a second speech in favour. Yeah, Miguel.
Hi. So, Teach Higher is not a way to actually increase the number of jobs available in an academic job market, as you said, which does have very few opportunities for these young people who are seeking to work, who have put many hours, many years of hard work, many of them who are the best students, the brightest people in the United Kingdom and from abroad, who have come here to a country which has one of the best higher education systems in the world, and who want to work and to contribute and to teach. And yet, what is this university offering? Precarious employment. What does this actually mean? What does this mean to not have fair pay? It means that the hours which you and the students which we represent, the students back home, all the hours which they are spending in the library right now, studying for their exams, for their essays, these tutors will be marking them. They will not be paid for them. Some of them are not actually paid for marking at all. You are paid £20 an hour for the hour which you teach, and anything extra comes free. This is preposterous in a Russell Group university. We need to pay our markers, we need to pay our teachers, and we need to pay them well if we want to ensure that the best continue to come here. As a closing point, I'd just like to say that one of the arguments which the university used when they began Teach Higher was saying there will be a vast improvement in consistency, in pay, and all these things. And now they've changed their rhetoric somewhat. What they are now saying, and they keep repeating this as a chorus, united, is that there will be no change. There will be no change in the rates of pay. There will be no change in the amount of people who are casualized. There will be no change in any of these matters. And they claim that we should go forward with this pilot, even if not being perfect, because they need to collect information so that eventually this pilot will be perfect. But what we will hear next year when they do have the information is the same as we are hearing now. No change. There will be no change. And while there is no change, our markers will not be paid. Our teachers will not be paid fairly. The best people who deserve to be our teachers will be shooed away to high-paying jobs in the City of London. And us students who want to be taught by the best and want our essays, which we have spent so many hours working on, will not be marked fairly. We will not be taught adequately because our university is refusing to spend enough on its teachers and its markers. Cheers.
And have we got a second speech against? No? Okay, we'll go to points from the floor. Anyone got any points from the floor? No? If not, if we're all happy, no points from the floor? Okay, brilliant. We'll go into summing up speeches then. I can't imagine we'll need a long summing up speech, but we'll go to Nat. Do you want to sum up the case for?
As I've already said, the current conditions for many students and staff who teach at work amount to exploitation. Obviously, this has a direct negative impact on students who teach, but also indirectly on those who are taught as feedback and preparation suffers. Without proper consultation, the university's proposed Teach Higher as a solution to the problems faced by hourly paid teachers, yet there is little evidence that Teach Higher will do more than consolidate existing issues and institutionalise the widespread casualisation that already exists throughout the sector. Our members deserve better than this, and so we must reject Teach Higher and demand in its place a universal contract system that values and not exploits hourly paid teachers, many of whom are students.
And is there a final speech against?
As much as I support reclaiming the means of production, I oppose it, and it's impromptu. But I think your intentions are good, which is sweet, but it's the means you're doing it is wrong. Teach Hires is good, and I actually have no substance to that. Just believe me.
Okay, and we probably want to have a second speech against. So, Miguel, do you want to waive your second speech in favour? Okay, brilliant. We'll go to an indicative vote. Remember, the voting actually happens online. That's where you get to decide, but this is just an indicative vote. So, everyone in favour of passing the motion, students against academic casualisation in Teach Higher? And all those against? Okay, so that passes unanimously with a few abstentions. Brilliant. We'll move on to Warwick SU against endorsing the actions of fossil fuel companies. In favour of that, is that Matt Chester? There we go.
Hello. So I'll just try and whiz through this because it's the end of the year. So basically I'm just going to outline what the motion will do and why we should be doing it. This is the motion. It's about making sure that our union does not endorse the actions of the fossil fuel companies by having sponsorship, associations, relationships, stalls, all of this type of thing. I think this is important for for a variety of reasons. For me personally, the predominant reason why we should not allow our institution to legitimize these actions is because of human rights abuses that are, caused by these companies. If you just read the motion, there's just countless repetitive things. They will go to an area, they will remove the indigenous communities, extract the oil. It's just atrocious for me, in my opinion. Secondly, I don't think we, as one of the top educational institutions in the world, should not be legitimizing these actions. We are guilty by association. If we say you can have your logo in our areas, you are saying what your actions are okay. We are tacitly endorsing it. So I think that we should recognize the privilege that we've got here and use this kind of influence that we have as a stance against the industry. Secondly, they've been, since 1997 alone, one company alone has spent $97 million distorting the free market by disinformation campaigns. So they have funded climate change denial groups. We do not live in a free market. They've distorted this. So I personally believe both left and right should be fighting against these companies because they've just completely distorted everything. And then finally, their business model relies on changing the composition of our atmosphere. They're putting more carbon atoms into it, and it just does not make sense. We all are aware of the negatives that will come of climate change. How can we be endorsing this? For me, it's a common sense motion. I hope everybody votes for. And yeah, thank you for listening.
And do we have a speaker against? First speaker against? No? Okay, well, yes. Go for it.
Well, I think the intentions are very good of the people who propose this motion, but really I think it's completely out of touch because we have to wonder, if we sever our links with fossil fuel companies, how much less research will we do? What will the job prospects be for those graduating in subjects like engineering? And what will the long-term impact be on this university? A lot was said about our influence and our place at the top. Well, I doubt we'll have that if we go down this reckless course. Now, of course, moving gradually to greener technology over a number of years is one thing, but completely boycotting companies because they are, associated with fossil fuels will be incredibly damaging to our university. We would lose, potentially millions of pounds. We would lose our networks that we've established over, a long number of years. So we probably won't be in the top 20 or the top 30 of the league tables if this passes. And thank goodness the management will ignore it if it is passed, because of course this is just a bit of a talking shop. But no, let's please vote against this because it's completely out of touch. Regular students, those who graduate in subjects such as engineering will not support it. It's not really to do with this university either. So I think it's about time this union, started recognizing real student concerns and stop, talking about the concerns which really don't affect us at all. Thank you.
That's great. And a second speech in favour. Yep.
So I just want to address some of the points you just made. You say that this motion and boycotting these companies would reduce the amount of research in this company. I think we can clearly point out that BP is in fact reducing the amount of research into renewable energy because we have a BP archive on campus which they do not allow free access, open access to, which is a complete kind of suppression of research into renewable technologies there. And also you were saying about how it's out of touch and some students just don't care. Well, just last year, students voted unanimously in favour of a fossil-free motion, which is now policy at the union. And this goes hand in hand with that policy. If students have already said the university should be divesting from fossil fuel funds, fossil fuel companies, we should also then not be endorsing them at the SU by taking their sponsorship or having their logos or having them try and recruit students into graduate jobs. So it definitely is a contradiction for this policy to also not be approved. So it definitely goes hand in hand with current issue policy. And just generally, this is a really, really important policy. We should not be encouraging our students to go into these graduate schemes and companies that basically are okay with massive human rights abuses, with polluting our atmosphere, and taking away the futures that they supposedly want to offer to students by supposedly offering them graduate jobs. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Do you have a second speech against? Oh, I'm not sure whether the same person can do the same speech twice. Normally, ask Jackie this. I think it makes sense since no one else wants to. You can respond to some of those points. That's fine.
Yeah, I just want to respond to a few points. You make a good point about BP, but if we force them to make their research public, which clearly they don't want to do, then they'll probably leave. And now, I know you spoke about the motion which passed before with unanimous support, though I do wonder what the turnout was like on that, because it's rare for a motion to get above 1,000 votes. So I doubt it really did have the support of the silent majority of students, at least, who didn't bother to vote on that. But let's consider our place in the real world here, not in this kind of bubble that we seem to think we are in. The economy is there are some fixed realities of it. It's very interconnected. It's multifaceted as well, and we can't simply withdraw from that because of the moral beliefs of a few people at this university who want to vote in a certain way. It doesn't make economic sense. And to claim that it had the unanimous support of all the students is, not really true. Many people didn't vote. The quorum's pretty low as well. So let's not kid ourselves. Let's not pretend this is something which would be in the interest of the university. It's just something that some people here in this room think is a nice moral pet project. Thank you very much.
That's great. And points from the floor. We got Miguel first up.
Hello. So let's be clear about one thing. What is a boycott? And what is actually being proposed here today? Because what is actually being proposed here today, as I think you have said, is not that the university immediately severs its links to fossil fuels. Obviously, we would love that. Please do that, Nigel Thrift. Ken Sloan, if you are listening to this, please sever all your links to fossil fuel companies. But let's face it, they won't do it in the next 24 hours, right? They won't do it once this motion is passed straight away. If anything, we will need a campaign for it. What a boycott actually is this union does not allow fossil fuel companies to advertise or be in it and publicize in it, right? And I think that's important. I don't think it actually has any impact, as you've said it has, because actually, when was the last time we had Shell or BP or any of these companies actually within the premises of the union? They're very often in the panorama suite in the careers fairs, and that's not going to change, let's face it. As much as I hate it, we should campaign against it. We should campaign against their destruction of our planet. But our priority needs to be to make sure that our SU is ethical, because we want our students' union to be taken seriously, to be seen as a paragon, to be seen as leading from the front, and not doing the least possible. We want RSU to be a changing and transformative institution, and that is why we need to back this boycott.
Matt Chester.
Hey, I just wanted to address the point of this being a moral pet project of some students and just like a small minority issue that doesn't affect people. A UN report recently published that every single person on this planet will be affected by climate change. 97% of climate scientists on the planet agree that climate change is happening by men, mankind, womankind, all of us. It's not a moral side issue of some left-wing people. I'm a science student, I'm a biology student. This is what every single academic says. This is one small action. This is not going to change everything. And this focus on the economy and the losing of, I say BP should go. That is what all the scientists say. So this is not just, don't play this down and don't insult people by saying this is just a minority left-wing issue. This is an issue that affects everybody, especially we in the UK are not going to be affected by immediately. It's the people in the tropical regions. So please do not insult this kind of thing. Don't say this is a little side issue.
Dan Goss.
Hello, Matt Chester said mostly everything I wanted to say. Someone referenced the fact that we live in a bubble, the people proposing this motion live in a bubble, but principally the bubble that we all live in is the atmosphere. And the other day we reached 400 parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere, which is unheard of, certainly in time that humans have been on the Earth. And we are at a stage in the evolution of our climate that we need to act on every possible front as much as possible, because another bubble we live in is the global north, where we're not only insulated by geographical accident from the worst impacts of climate change, but also by the money and the wealth that we have that mean that we can assuage the worst vulnerabilities of our place in the world. So we need to do this not mainly for us at all even, but for people who will be most impacted by climate change in the global south and in tropical regions like Matt Chester said. So that's all I want to say.
Any other points on the floor? Yeah, we'll go back to you. Sorry, what's your name? Sorry? Ross. Brilliant. We'll go back to Ross.
I just want to say, I'm certainly not proposing a skeptical argument of climate change here. I'm not disagreeing with these premises you were saying, and I'm sure most scientists would agree with you, though I think most economists might agree with me. I wonder, though, would anyone who proposed this motion like to say whether they think it's worth it that some students, particularly in the fields of engineering, should lose out on jobs, and this university should lose out on money and links with business? Is that worth the price for leading by example? So, is it worth some students graduating here without a job where they could have done before, simply because we don't have those links that we used to have because of this very moral stance? Let's be pragmatic here. And, please, I want to hear your answer.
We've got Matt next.
Ships and things like that aren't done by the SU. They're individual companies will sponsor. So this policy will not stop any student being sponsored by a company. So no jobs will be affected by this. So you don't need to worry about that. I think that's a false premises that you're putting onto this. This is simply not allowing advertising, sponsorship, mentorship of things within the SU are building. It means that they will just be added to the boycott list with all of the other arms companies. So I think you're injecting your kind of worries. And so just to assuage them, no student will not be sponsored by fossil fuel companies. No student will not get a job because of the fossil fuel. Either way, they should probably be going more towards renewables, but no student will be affected by that. This is a stance that the university will take. It's similar to divestment. It's symbolic, but it's also, I think you're injecting things that aren't really there. So that's my response.
Callum.
Just quickly, to talk about pragmatism, is it more pragmatic, is it more sensible to maintain some links with fossil fuel companies than it is to act in the interests of literally billions of people in the global south whose lives are at risk? I think the question of pragmatism is entirely misdirected, because to be honest, your version of the pragmatic involves the death of millions of people. To me, that's not pragmatic, that is horrific, that is violent, and it is something we should not be supporting in our union.
Miguel.
I don't want to go on for very long. Just wanted to say, if you're worried about jobs, well, there are no jobs on a dead planet. It's that simple, right? There won't be jobs if we don't take care of climate change. And so all those concerns will be for nothing.
And we've got Dan Goss. Okay. If we haven't got more points on the floor, then we can do summing up speeches, and I'm sure you want to address some of those points then. But we'll start with, we'll sum up with the proposer. So, Matt, do you want to sum up first?
I hope everybody votes in favour of this. I feel it's quite common sense. It's moral. I think we have an obligation to do this, and I personally feel this is the minimum that we as students should be doing. I advocate quite stronger actions to be taken. I hope that the university divests this summer. So this is one small step that we can do. It's just take 2 minutes out of your time this week to vote in favour of this. So yeah, I feel it just makes sense. We should not be legitimising the actions of these companies.
And we've got Ross with the summing up speech against.
Okay, we've said some things about pragmatism here. And I'm sure many people on the other side of the argument to me would be aware of the tragedy of the commons and how what is pragmatic isn't necessarily in keeping with what you might call the common good. But there is also the point that if we sever our connections with companies, there will be less chance of things like scholarships. So it wouldn't directly affect jobs, but it would have a detrimental indirect effect on it, since we would have less connections in that area. And I also want to think, I'm thinking of the sabbatical officers here. Now, if we give them a mandate to pressure management to withdraw fossil fuels, you kind of think, couldn't they be spending that time, doing something that actually affects students? Real interest of students. I think it'd be a far more, in touch way of going about it. If we don't, add this pressure to the sabbatical officers to, speak to management about something which won't happen anyway, and if it does, would be economically, would be a disaster for the university. So I think it's time we, stop wasting our time on matters which really don't concern this union, and start, talking about what really affects students.
Okay, second speech in favour? Happy to waive it?
Yeah, I think your point about saying this is a waste of sabbatical officer time is so untrue, and this is so a salient point for students, because this stems from the divestment movement from People on the Planet, which is currently being carried out in loads of universities across the globe. And as we've seen, we're seeing several universities divesting, and just today, Oxford decided to divest from Tyrone coal sand funds. So this is definitely an interest of students. It's definitely an interest of the SABs and the student body to pressure management to do this. And as a SAB-elect, I also do not think this is a waste of my time in the future. Thank you.
And second speech against? You don't have to, no obligation.
Of course. No, I think we have like quite a clear choice here. When I say it's a waste of time, I think, what's this union for? Why do we have a union here? Is it to fight worldly issues? Or is it to actually fight for what the students want and for what the students need? Now, I think, morally commendable that the people who oppose this motion, and they're certainly doing what they think is right. And I can absolutely appreciate that. I'm just thinking, is it the role of this union to fight that particular fight? And also, can we imagine where the university will be without its links with businesses like, BP? I know we all hate BP, but with the economy is, designed in such a way, and it changes gradually. And for us to simply, change direction when the economy wants us to do something else would be a disaster for this university's finances, and would impact on its standing academically and in terms of research and in terms of job prospects. So I think this is a very, short-sighted motion, and I'd urge everyone here to think about it very seriously before they voted for it, and I'd urge them to vote against it. Thank you very much.
Okay, and we've got Warwick SU boycotts arms companies as our final policy. Sorry? Oh, indicative vote, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, you wouldn't have thought I've done this before. Yeah, indicative vote. Everyone in favour of passing the policy, Warwick SU against endorsing the actions of fossil fuel companies, raise your cards. Okay, and everyone against? Everyone against. Okay, so that passes pretty with a fair majority. Now we move on to Warwick SU boycotts arms companies. This is something that's already on the boycott list that we have to reapprove the student body every 2 years? Yes. So do we have a speaker in favour? Yep, Callum.
All right, I'll start with two very simple, very basic principles. The first is, as a union, we have a form of collective power. The second is, arms companies profit from the suppression of dissent, imperialist militarism, and illegal wars. So I think on the basis of these two principles, on the basis of our collective beliefs, this is somewhat of an obvious vote. We should use our power to oppose armed companies and fight for a more peaceful world. If we oppose evil things, let's oppose evil companies, right? It's not very hard. But on that hand, I just want to make the point that we are normal, we are in the real world, we're not idealists. We just want to take concrete action against those who directly profit from violence. This shouldn't be a controversial stance within our union. Yeah, that's it.
And first speech against? No? Okay, yeah, go on.
I do realise that by attacking the boycott on arms companies, I do look or sound a bit like Darth Vader here. But I should do my best because democracy, requires an opposing view sometimes. And firstly, I should like to say that I think it's rather commendable that the union is trying to save the world one useless motion at a time. But I should also like to say that we live in something that resembles a slight free market. And companies exist for a reason, because there are consumers. They don't exist to, or they don't exist in spite of self-righteous students. And I really don't think, is this boycott in, can you answer questions now? Is that possible?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, yeah. Is this boycott actually university policy or just SU policy?
SU policy.
Okay, so this is bullshit then, it doesn't do anything.
Can we just refrain from using words like self-righteous and bullshit? It's
Okay.
attack the principle of the motion,
Yeah,
not
okay.
necessarily students proposing
No,
it.
I'm not attacking students, I'm attacking the culture of students. Then I don't see that there's, my speech here is useless. We're not going to change university policy, so thank you. God save Nigel Thrift.
Second speech in favour. Miguel, yeah.
Cheers. You've actually provided me the perfect opportunity to make what will probably be one of the final speeches in 3 years of being a representative here. And I think you've framed it in the exact way in which I wanted to make this final speech, which is what the Students' Union should be. Because what you are criticizing is a Students' Union that stands up for what it believes in, for what students believe in, for the change which we want, as students, the world to be. We want to change the world, and we should stand up for it. We should stand up for it, and we should stand up for it loudly. There is a perception among some that those here are not normal students, and that normal students do not back what we are doing. But it is a wrong perception, because really, in fact, what students want from its Students' Union is not a passive organization that sits back and waits for things to happen. What they want is a fighting Students' Union. And that is what we have been fighting for these past 3 years. We passed policy after policy. And you call it meaningless. But I call it the soul of democracy. It is the fire in the belly of students who come here and propose these motions, who take time out of their studies to vote. And then from the sabbatical officers who were elected in a vicious week of campaigning, and then who take their whole year to actually achieve some of these policies. They've achieved so much this year. And the SABs, which I've seen throughout these 3 years, have achieved so much. These policies are part of what they achieve. They're not meaningless. They stand for our values. They stand for what we want to achieve. And they are necessary, because unless we have a way of deciding democratically among us what we believe in and the world we are fighting for, then we will always have a union which is passive, which is uninterested and uninteresting for students. I am for a union that is interesting, that is fighting for change. And that means passing this boycott.
And do you have a second speech against? Yep, George.
So you talk about collective action and democracy and students doing their thing. I just had the statistics for the last ASM here. The most relevant motion last time, which was rather commendable, was the 24-hour library. I'll hand it to you. That's quite a cute thing. But the total votes cast were 1,254 out of a university of, correct me if I'm wrong, 23,000 students. I don't think that's not representative of any collective will or anything. That's just students don't care about this. I've been on the, I've spoken to people. I was involved in the elections last term. Most people don't care. This is just, it is a talking shop, and maybe some students do care. That's fine. It's admirable that people want to change things, but no one else does, and they just come here to get a degree and then just kind of put off going into the real world for as many years as possible. you know, it's just part of the university experience. It's all sweet, but I just think that this is just useless. And that's it, really. I don't have a conclusion. Count this as my summary point as well.
Brilliant. Points from the floor. Any points from the floor at all? Yep, Callum.
I've spent 2 years at this university meeting quite a lot of students who do care, and it's been, you know, a great privilege and a great source of joy to meet so many students who really do want to fight for things and really care about things. And I think this kind of proposed right-wing notion that actually all students are totally apathetic is rubbish, and we should treat it as like dismal rubbish, because that's what it is. You know, students care about their future, and when you make things relevant to them, they'll fight and they'll do great things. And I've seen students do things which have impressed me 1,000,000 times over and break this apathetic image. And so, you know, this isn't necessarily relevant to the arms boycott, but just stop babying real students, inverted commas, and treat them as people with political opinions. They may think yours are heinous, but good.
Any other points from the floor? Yep.
Thank you. So I would say to that, when did I say I was right-wing? This isn't a left or right issue. This is just this. I mean, and statistically, you have no evidence either that students care. Statistically, evidence suggests that they don't care. You know, and this isn't about left or right. This is about getting on and getting a degree, or distracting yourself from your degree, and then, you know, that's it. Basically, I'm trying to help you people go out and get a degree. I'm not babying you either. No, that's it. I mean, I'm sure you need babying, but I can't breastfeed you.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, other point against. Yep.
Well, it's more a point about you know, having our feet firmly grounded in reality, and being up there in the clouds and this, you know, idealistic, with these idealistic notions of what we can do. Now, I understand what, you know, has been said by Miguel, in the sense that it's interesting for students, and it's something, you know, in some respects worthwhile doing. And for that, we have various societies that people can join to, you know, show how politically active they are. But this is a union made to promote the students' interests here at the University of Warwick. And getting involved in matters, you know, halfway across the world simply because we think that's the right thing to do, I don't think that's the proper function of this union. You should go and join a society against arms if you want to do that. And, you know, backing up what George says, most students are apathetic towards this. And why? Well, they might be less apathetic if these motions actually have something to do with them. And not something, you know, that only politics students like myself can appreciate. Thanks very much.
Yeah, we got Miguel.
Sorry, I said that was my last speech. I'm going to have to break my rule here, because actually what you said does not make any sense, and it's only applicable to you and the rest of English students here in this university, because there are so many international students at this university where actually in their hometowns, in their home countries, they do face a threat of having one of the guns which our research here at Warwick helped to produce. And that is not on. This university gains nothing. The students at this university gain nothing. It is not in their interests to fund or to be a part of a project of mass murder of people by their government or by anybody else, whether it's organized crime or anything else. So when you say that actually it does not matter to students that we allow arms companies to have their research done here, well, actually it does. It might not matter to you because you're white and British, but to the rest of this university who are not and who might face oppression and possible death in their home countries, well, actually it does to them. And so actually for them, for their sake at least, let's pass this boycott.
Dan? Kat?
I'll keep this brief because I'm not feeling very well, so I wasn't really planning on speaking. But I came to this university in 2010. I studied classics. I was part of the Ski Society. I did a radio show, and I did some drama as well. And I did lots of stuff while I was at university. But one of the most important things that I did at my university was find my politics. And I realized that actually the world around me wasn't just about me. It was about so much more than that. And I joined the union because I felt it was something that really believed in ethics and really believed in being political. And yes, it was an ideological body in some ways, but actually it changed students' lives in so many ways. And I'm really proud to be president of this union because we do strive to be ethical and we do strive to be political and we don't just take no for an answer. We do try and change things. And whether that be doing things like the 24-hour library or whether it be like boycotting fossil fuel companies because it means something to the wider world, all of these things are really important. And I think you want to know what a union's for? It's for every student. And it's for their political beliefs. And it's for finding those political ideologies. And I don't think that we should just rest and say, okay, well, this doesn't directly affect these students right here and right now, so we shouldn't have an opinion on it. Of course we should have an opinion because this union doesn't exist in a vacuum. So yes, please pass this because it's good and it's moral and it's ethical and it's everything that we should stand for. Thank you.
Other points on the floor? Or we're going to go into summing up speeches. Okay, we'll sum up. Sum up against. Happy to waive it.
Well, it's always important to have a devil's advocate, isn't it? No, I think that, there is a very strong moral case to vote in favour of this motion. And, I'm not saying that arms companies are in any way good. However, it's something we need to question, whether our impact will have will actually do something about it, or whether it will be potentially damaging to us. So, for instance, as I say, reducing our links with business and everything. I know this isn't perhaps as important when it comes to arms companies as it does with fossil fuels companies, since we probably want more fossil fuel companies. Probably have a great deal to do with this university. However, I just want us to think about what this union is for, and if we focus more on the student issues, then I think we'll gain more student involvement in those issues. Most students who don't do politics or any kind of degree related to that might look at these motions and think, well, what does that have to do with me? And that's why participation at this union is so low, I think. And if we start proposing motions and start talking about things which are more directly related to students, I think we'll have a greater success in enfranchising them more. I think at the moment we're getting simply too distracted by issues that mean lots to some people based on a sense of idealism, I think. I think Miguel spoke about idealism very well. I don't think this union should be an idealistic institution. We should be pragmatic and we should do, what's in the interest of the students 100% of the time rather than putting our values ahead of that. And I want you to just all consider that before you vote to pass this motion, which I'm sure you might do, since you lot are the only ones who probably vote on this anyway. Thank you very much.
We'll give those in favour another chance if they would like it. Yep, go on, Hope.
I just want to say that, why are you here? Because I feel like you seem to hate everything about this process so much, and you talk a lot about how you love democracy, yay democracy, but if you're actually opposed to this campaign, run a no campaign, just do something of any kind of political value, except from just coming here, insulting people, insulting policies that people have actually written, what are you? I just don't understand. This is a motion that students have written. You say you love democracy. All you do is come here every ASM and just insult people and claim that they're not, that we're not being pragmatic enough and that having ideals is somehow some kind of poisonous, horrendous thing, which I would entirely contest. And just do something, man. Just write a motion. God, just do something. Don't just come sit here and lecture people because it's sickening.
Okay, and I think that's one speech for either side. I think probably okay to do that. All right, we'll move to an indicative vote. So everyone in favour of Warwick SU boycotts arms companies, raise your cards now, please. Okay, and everyone against Warwick SU boycotts arms companies. All right, that passes again with a fairly substantial majority. Thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate it so much. And can I just say thank you to people that turn up with views that might be in the minority here as well, because it does make it more interesting. I really do respect it, and it takes a lot of courage to stand up against the crowd and speak. Would like to remind people who are talking about motions. We want policies that relate to students. We always want policies that relate to students. Anyone can write a policy, and if you find that difficult, please come and talk to me and talk about how we can make that process simpler. And I'll just end with saying that since this will be the last time I've chaired and the SABs, it's been absolutely brilliant. And I'm proud of everyone who's ever taken part in the Students' Union completely. It's just had a massive impact on my life. It's been absolutely great. And yeah, thank you everyone. Good luck in your exams. Thanks very much.